Hi, it's Candace. I'm here with Joel Bruce Wallach. Today we're going to be talking about the mental and emotional effects of the lockdown on the human
Mm,
psyche and the human heart. And the disc we're going to be working with today is the divine essence water element. So, Joel, talk to us a little bit about the water element and how we can deal with restlessness, irritability, fear, anger, sadness, frustration, kind of all of that stuff that's coming with this
mm.
lockdown.
Well, Candace, all of that stuff is stuff that keeps you from being in the flow. And
Oh,
people talk about flow states, and they talk about being in the zone and being in the flow.
mm-hmm.
Now, flow implies waves or a river or a stream moving. The weird thing about feeling locked down or feeling that you cannot go somewhere or cannot do something is that it produces pressure and it feels irritable.
Right, it's constriction. It's like I no longer have freedom,
Mhm.
that I'm being really
Yeah.
constricted.
So getting an internal sense of flow is super important. It helps you to be more creative. It helps you create solutions that maybe are dealing with problems that you didn't have to deal with before.
Right.
So being in a flow state says, okay, I'm ready to acknowledge that this is happening. I'm ready to acknowledge that there are limitations, and I'm ready to acknowledge that I can create and swim even in the middle of all of this constriction.
Right.
That brings us to how do you access flow? And these are designed, the water divine element disc helps you access the water element. Now, we're not talking about water as in the stuff that's wet. We're talking about the watery quality of rain gently flowing down or rivers and streams, gently flowing and so forth.
The babbling brook.
Babbling of a brook. And notice that a babbling brook is active.
Right. Very.
It's not static. So when you access that vibration, when you bring it into alignment with your
Mm-hmm.
body, it starts to activate the flow quality. Now, the flow quality helps to disperse that tight feeling because it moves the energy. I'm assuming that everything's energy, that your body, your mind, your spirit, all energy in a way. And so the water element helps you get into flow, but it's very calming. It's not calming like a hit on the head. It's calming like, okay, I can be with what's happening and in a way that's intelligent and wise and centered.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, let's talk about how you might really feel as you're listening to this. And you might say, well, those are a lot of pretty words and good for you. And you're talking about all these lofty things.
Fluffy. La la la.
Yeah. So, yes, we get it. But,
But that doesn't make me not feel like I want to choke somebody out.
right, including these people that are yakking about water. So, what we have to say to you is put your fingertips on the surface of the divine element water disk. And we're using this new technique where actually put your fingertips on it. And this actually activates the tips of your meridians, your acupoints in your fingertips, but it really activates the copper layered circuits in the disc. And as those get activated, the watery quality flows through you a lot more effectively. And you can also put it directly on your body, anywhere that you like, and you can get that going. So what happens if you've been tight or stuck or angry or irritable, it starts to give you access to the flowing, watery quality. And it's subtle and gentle. So take your time with it and do a little bit each day. If you feel like the energy is pretty stuck and you want to go deeper.
Yeah, you don't want it to be a raging river. I mean, if you're
Yeah.
stuck, right, you don't want a raging river coming and blowing you out. You want
Mm,
this subtle feeling that just kind of
yes.
slowly brings the
Mm,
tension down.
very much. And these are appropriately known as subtle energy tools, not
Right.
bombastic energy tools. So, yes. So feel that.
Yeah.
You can do it here.
Oh, the
Do
tapping.
it or your crown. You can do a bit of tapping. I like to alternate a bit of tapping with a bit of circle swirling. Now, note that when you're swirling and tapping, you are physically touching the disc with the fingertips, but you're not grinding into it. It's a exceedingly light touch.
Hmm.
And a forceful touch would not be more effective. Hmm. So that's doing some nice things to the meridians that run over the top of the head,
Hmm.
and it's relaxing some of the glands in the head. A very subtle way to use this, especially if you want to be discreet, if you're in an office or something and you don't want to be waving discs around and attracting undue attention
Hi.
uh, to your metaphysical tendencies. So you put it on the disc, just in a subtle way, just put one hand somewhere on your body, and the other hand is going to actually do the tapping on the disc and the swirling. And this will transmit it right into your body.
Hmm.
Mhm. And it feels subtle, but it's pleasant waves running through the body. Very helpful. And if you're thinking, okay, well, when I started doing this, let's say that 10 was the worst and 1 was peaceful. Let's say you were at a 9 and you're thinking, I'm only down to a 7. Why is it not working? It is working.
You're talking
Do it,
about that scale,
the
the
scale.
scale of where, on a scale from 1 to 10, where am
Yeah,
I right now?
yeah.
A
So you
10
started
or
at
a 9?
9, then you worked down to 7, but you're still kind of irritable and you're even irritable about the process. And you're saying, well, I want it to be faster. Yes, of course, we all do. So do it a little bit more. And instead of just working away at one technique, try different techniques. Try putting it on your belly button, which is a really centering place, and do some swirling with your fingertips on the disc and a little bit of tapping on the disc. And that starts to create more gentle, watery wave energy on your belly button area. It brings a lot of the nervous energy in the head down there where it can be more stable.
You know,
It makes you more stable.
I see this as a very effective tool for, I mean, not just for the frustration and the
Mm,
irritability that we're having because of a lockdown, but just in life, when we get stuck on our side.
mm,
I'm right. I mean, I've looked at all the
mm,
data and all the information, and I'm
mm.
right. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, so this is
Mm,
when, and that's being stuck when, because everybody's right. I mean, consciously we know that
yeah.
everybody has their own perspective, but when you're in the place that I'm right, this is an effective tool to help you get to the place where you can be open to
Yeah.
someone
And
else's
that,
opinion.
yes, a perfect example of if you imagine water over millions of years, it smooths out a rough rock.
Yes.
And so when you have a rough thought, you can smooth it way more quick than smoothing out a rock. So when you start to smooth things out, as per what you're saying, it means that you can recognize that you may well be right about something, but you don't have to be tense about it.
Or rigid. I think,
Yeah.
like you think of a rock that's broken off is really hard on the edges versus a
Mm-hmm.
rock that becomes a pebble in a brook
Mm-hmm.
is soft, and it's still a rock, but it has
Still a
softer
rock.
edges.
Yeah. So you get to be right. But if you see people who think differently than you can say, okay, well, takes all kinds.
Well,
Yeah.
and I think this practice, this technique,
Mm,
can help, can really help get to that place, because we are,
mm,
our world today is very, um, there's lots of extreme thoughts and beliefs, and
mm.
there's very little of that finding the middle ground. And as
Right.
each one of us try and rub off those hard edges,
Hmm.
we bring the whole mass closer to
Right.
not being so divisive.
Yes. And what's so powerful about what you just said is that it changes your vibration.
Hmm.
And you are not a passive participant. Even within your office, within your house, within your car, walking down the street, you're a person, you're a bundle of vibrations. As these vibrations have more flow and you're in less of a judgmental state, you can look at somebody that might live differently than you, think differently than you. You can say,
Look differently
"Oh,
than you.
that's a sweet person. They happen to think differently about a lot of things that I think are important, but they presumably think that their belief is important." And when you can sense the commonality, which flow and the water element can help you do,
Right,
when you hold that space, you're healing the planet
right.
way more than when you have that I'm right, you're wrong, and you're bad.
Well, and
That's
also it helps you
helping no
find,
one.
instead of, it helps you find the things that you have in common,
Yeah,
because it's softer, versus the things that you don't have in common.
yeah.
And
And
finding those,
maybe the not in common thing, maybe you'll always not have something in common with certain people,
right,
but you always, as a foundation, as you said, have things in common.
right. Well, we're all human beings.
That's a good basic place to start.
Yes.
And
But it,
therefore we all have cosmic energy within us. And here's the great thing: when you're in flow, you can tune in to the cosmic part of somebody. Whereas when you're rigid, you think they're all different and bad. But when you have something in common, then you start to recognize, oh, there's something delightful about that person, and we have some different views, which is how people used to be more easily. People
yes.
used to say, you you cheer for that team and I cheer for this team, but we're both on the
We,
same human team.
right, and we both like football. You know, we
Yeah,
both like baseball. So,
yeah. Mhm.
so wonderful, Joel. I love that being in the flow. Thank you so much. Until next
Thank you,
time.
Candace. Be well.
For more training videos like this, and to ask your Powerforms questions, join our social forum at powerformshealing.com. It's free. powerformshealing.com.